The Sunday dinner ritual, traditions that brought families together. You remember the seat you always had at Grandma's table, don't you? You can still hear the clatter of dishes, the scent of pot roast in the air, and the exact pitch of the dinner bell that meant one thing: everyone came home. But when did that all disappear? And why does its absence still ache today? This isn't just a story about food. It's about rituals that quietly shaped who we became. Let's rewind time and find out why Sunday dinner was the most powerful tradition families ever had. The extended family gathering. The extended family gathering transformed ordinary weekends into meaningful reunions. The Sunday table often stretched to accommodate grandparents, uncles, aunts, and cousins, creating a weekly family reunion that strengthened bonds across generations. Tables were carefully arranged, often with specific seating that honored elders and created a hierarchy of respect. Children learned their place, both literally and figuratively, sitting at designated spots that might change as they matured. Grandparents typically claimed the head of the table, a position of honor that acknowledged their wisdom and family leadership. These seating arrangements weren't random, but reflected family values and responsibilities, teaching children about respect without a single word being spoken. Their tradition fostered a sense of belonging and identity as family stories and histories were passed down during these gatherings. Many adults still remember exactly where they sat at their grandmother's table, a spatial memory connected to their place in the family narrative. While extended family gatherings created the foundation of Sunday's dinner, what specific preparation ritual turned ordinary cooking into a family event? Multi-generational cooking. Multi-generational cooking began hours, sometimes days before the meal itself. Grandmothers, mothers, and children would gather in the kitchen, sharing techniques and recipes passed down through generations. Young girls learned to make Grandma's famous dinner rolls by feeling the dough's texture rather than following written recipes. Too sticky, Grandmother might say, adding flour without measuring. Not enough kneading, she'd demonstrate, pushing into the dough with experienced hands. Boys might help grandfathers prepare special cuts of meat or tend to backyard vegetable gardens that supplied the dinner table. The kitchen became an informal classroom where cooking techniques merged with family heritage. One generation taught another how to snap green beans at exactly the right spot, or how to test a cake for doneness without setting a timer. These lessons extended beyond cooking. They taught patience, attention to detail, and respect for tradition. Additionally, this kitchen time created opportunities for private conversations and mentoring that might not happen in the larger family setting. Secret ingredients were whispered between grandmother and granddaughter, creating a tangible connection between generations. The ritual transformed food preparation from a chore into a cherished tradition that created bonds as nourishing as the food itself. The kitchen hummed with activity as families prepared meals together. But what special ritual marked the official beginning of Sunday dinner? If you enjoyed this journey into timeless family rituals, make sure to subscribe and tap the notification bell. We've got more stories just like this one that bring the past alive in surprising ways. The dinner bell. The ringing of the dinner bell was more than just a signal to eat. It was a powerful tradition that brought immediate order to the household. Children would stop their play, adults would conclude conversations, and everyone would gather with anticipation. In rural areas, the bell could be heard across fields, calling family members home from various chores. Some families used actual bells, brass ones mounted outside farmhouses, or delicate silver ones that tinkled from the dining room. For others, the bell might be grandmother's distinctive call, or even the predictable phrase, "Wash up, dinner's ready." Whatever form it took, the signal held authority. Children knew that ignoring it meant facing disapproval, as the dinner bell represented respect for both the meal and those who prepared it. Furthermore, the sound created a Pavlovian response, hearts beating faster, mouths watering, and feet moving toward a gathering place. This simple act created a sense of ceremony and importance around the meal, signaling the transition from individual activities to family togetherness. The bell's ring marked sacred time, hours set aside exclusively for family, uninterrupted by the outside world. Many families had rules about answering phones during Sunday dinner, considering it an intrusion on their protected time together. The dinner bell brought families to the table, but what thoughtful tradition created a moment of reflection before the meal began? Grace and gratitude. Before forks touched plates, many families observed a moment of grace or thanksgiving. Whether religious or simply reflective, this pause created a boundary between the busy week and the sacred family time. Some traditions included holding hands around the table, saying personalized thanks, or reciting familiar prayers that had echoed through generations. The words might vary from formal religious blessings to simple expressions of gratitude, but the intention remained consistent, acknowledging the blessing of both food and family. This ritual often fell to the family patriarch or matriarch, although some households rotated the honor among family members, including children. Even so, the moment transcended religious boundaries. Non-religious families might observe a moment of appreciation for the hands that prepared the meal or express gratitude for another week together. This ritual reminded everyone of their blessings and created a moment of unity before the meal began. The brief silence that often accompanied grace allowed everyone to mentally transition to family time, leaving behind the week's stresses. Make no mistake, this seemingly small tradition carried significant weight in establishing the meal's tone and teaching children about gratitude and reflection. For many adults, the familiar words of their family's mealtime grace remain etched in memory decades later. A moment of gratitude set the tone for Sunday's dinner. But what dining custom encouraged family members to truly see and hear one another? No technology at the table. Long before smartphones demanded attention, Sunday dinners had their own rule. The table was for conversation, not distraction. Televisions remained off, phones stayed on hooks in hallways, and radios were silenced. This intentional removal of distractions created a space where family members made eye contact, asked meaningful questions, and practiced the increasing rare art of listening. Children learned conversation skills naturally by observing adults engage in thoughtful discussions. They discovered the rhythm of taking turns, the value of attentive listening, and how to express opinions respectfully. Above all, the technology-free table ensured that everyone remained present, physically and mentally. Families discussed everything from community news to world events, from school achievements to workplace challenges. Children who might otherwise remain silent found their voices at Sunday table, learning that their thoughts had value in family discussions. Parents who rushed through weekday meals could linger over conversations, learning about their children's expanding worlds. Consequently, these technology-free conversations fostered deeper connections than today's distracted interactions often allow. The tradition taught an important lesson that many modern families are rediscovering. Meaningful communication requires undivided attention. The technology-free table fostered genuine connection, but what storytelling tradition enriched these family gatherings with wisdom and history? Family stories and oral history. Sunday dinners served as informal classrooms where family histories were preserved through storytelling. Grandparents would share tales of their youth, parents would recount family legends, and children absorbed their heritage through these narratives. Your grandfather walked 3 miles to school uphill both ways became not just a joke, but a lesson about perseverance. Stories of ancestors surviving wars, depressions, or personal tragedies taught resilience without explicit moralizing. These weren't just entertaining stories. They conveyed family values, resilience through hardships, and a sense of where everyone came from. Children learned their family's origin stories, how grandparents met, how the family business began, or how they came to live in their current town. Cousins discovered shared experiences through these narratives, strengthening their bonds. Meanwhile, adults gained new appreciation for their elders by hearing stories they might have previously dismissed. The tradition created a sense of continuity and belonging that extended beyond the immediate family to connect with previous generations. Many adults today can trace their understanding of family history to these Sunday dinner conversations. For instance, knowledge about great-grandmother's famous pie recipe or great-grandfather's service in the war often originated at the Sunday table. passed down through stories told between servings of potatoes and gravy. Family stories created a shared history. But what custom transformed ordinary meals into memorable celebrations? The special once-a-week dishes. Sunday dinners featured dishes too labor-intensive for ordinary weekdays, pot roasts that simmered for hours, homemade breads and desserts, or family recipes reserved for special occasions. These weren't everyday meals, but culinary events that required planning and preparation. The aromas would fill the house all day, building anticipation. Just like that, a standard Sunday became a celebration simply through the presence of grandmother's pot roast or father's special gravy. By the time dishes reached the table, they carried more than nutritional value. They embodied family identity and continuity. Take this. The same roast chicken recipe prepared for decades connected Sunday dinners across time, with each generation experiencing the same flavors. Yet these special dishes weren't just about taste. They represented family care and sacrifice. Hours spent preparing demonstrated love more clearly than words. These special dishes became part of the family identity, with recipes treasured and passed down as valued inheritance. Some families even named dishes after relatives: Aunt Martha's potato salad or Grandma Joe's famous pie, ensuring that beloved family members remained present at the table long after they had passed away, which led to meals becoming not just nourishment, but narratives, stories told through recipes that connected generations. Special dishes created memorable meals, but what meaningful end-of-meal tradition brought closure to these family gatherings? The lingering conversation. While modern meals often end abruptly as everyone rushes to the next activity, Sunday dinners concluded with what many families called table-sitting conversations that continued long after plates were empty. Adults would sip coffee, children might be excused to play nearby, and the conversation would deepen into more meaningful topics. This unhurried conclusion contrasted sharply with weekday meals, where efficiency took priority. The lingering allowed for different conversation rhythms. Silences became comfortable, stories expanded, and topics meandered naturally. Some of life's most important discussions happened during these unhurried moments when no one was watching the clock. Family decisions, conflict resolutions, and life announcements often occurred during this time. We're expecting a baby. We're moving to another state. Or, I've decided on a college, are many life-changing announcements that find their moment during the post-meal lingering. That said, not all conversations carried such weight. Sometimes the lingering simply provided space for laughter, reminiscing, or comfortable silence among people who didn't need constant chatter to feel connected. For children, these extended timetables taught patience and the value of adult company. For adults, they offered rare moments of unstructured connection in increasingly busy lives. The lingering conversations created precious memories. But what collective cleanup tradition reinforced family teamwork? Everyone helps clear the table. Sunday dinner cleanup became its own tradition, with systems developed over generations. Unlike daily meals where one person might handle dishes alone, Sunday cleanup involved the entire family in well-choreographed roles. Grandchildren might clear plates, aunts would wash, uncles would dry, and cousins would put away. Each person knew their assignment without discussion, having performed the same role countless times before. The kitchen after dinner buzzed with activity and conversation as multiple generations worked together toward a common goal. This collective effort reinforced that family responsibilities were shared, and the work became another opportunity for conversation and togetherness. Children learned valuable life skills alongside the message that everyone contributes to family life. Indeed, the cleanup ritual often featured as much laughter and storytelling as the meal itself. Different combinations of relatives working side by side created unique bonding opportunities. A quiet niece might open up while drying dishes with her uncle, or cousins might strengthen their connection while scraping plates. In fact, Some of the most honest conversations happen during these cleanup sessions, when eyes focused on tasks rather than each other, creating a safe space for difficult topics. Eventually, when the last dish was put away and counters were wiped clean, the family had accomplished something together, a fitting conclusion to their shared meal. Working together after meals taught valuable lessons, but what thoughtful tradition ensured no family member felt forgotten? Checking in on absent members. Sunday dinners included a ritual of remembering those who couldn't be present. A phone might be passed around so everyone could speak to a distant relative, or a special mention would be made of those unable to attend. Some families set symbolic empty places at the table, while others said special prayers for absent members. Letters from faraway relatives might be read aloud, keeping their voices present at the gathering. This tradition acknowledged an important truth: family bonds remained intact despite physical separation. Military service, college attendance, illnesses, or work obligations might prevent attendance, but the absent members remained part of the family circle. For this reason, families found creative ways to include those missing, saving a piece of special dessert, taking photos to send, or recording audio messages. Children learned that family membership was permanent, transcending distance and circumstance. Meanwhile, those absent received comfort knowing they weren't forgotten at the family table. After a while, these remembrance rituals expanded to include deceased family members as well as stories about departed grandparents or parents, keeping the memory alive for the younger generations who might never have met them. This tradition reinforced that family bonds transcend physical presence and that belonging continued regardless of distance. Conclusion: Sunday dinner traditions created more than meals. They fostered belonging, taught values, preserved history, and built the resilience that carried families through life challenges. As our schedules have accelerated and families have scattered, many of these traditions have faded from our weekly rhythms. Nevertheless, their power remains available to any family willing to prioritize regular gatherings around a table. After all, these traditions weren't dependent on elaborate settings or perfect circumstances, just a consistent commitment to come together. Even the simplest Sunday meals can build the same connections that sustained previous generations. At the same time, modern families are finding ways to adapt these traditions to contemporary life. Virtual Sunday dinners connect distant relatives through screens, while monthly or quarterly gatherings replace weekly ones for widely scattered families. Which of these Sunday dinner traditions do you remember or wish to revive in your own family? And if you love these nostalgic traditions, wait until you see how families survived and even lived during one of the hardest times in history. Click here to discover the Great Depression cooking hacks that still work today.